Good morning and warm welcome to you all. I am Vaibhav, your host for today. Our topic for today is scrutiny and assessment in income tax. It shall be taken by Ms. Namrata Chande. She shall cover how to respond to outstanding demands under income tax, alternate remedies for responding to demand raised, followed by question and answer session. Our agenda for today is virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessing of deity, chanting of Gayatri Mantra, introduction of speaker, presentation by Ms. Namrata, question and answer session, and last closing session. About Sadgun Sangh. Sadgun Sangh, conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Sadgun Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. About Dr. Sundar Kataria, designation and organization, Chairman and Managing Director, International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification, Mechanical Engineer, AMIE, Honorary Doctorate, Business Management. His experience are nuclear. He started his career in building India's first nuclear power plant at Rawatbata, Kota, Rajasthan. Oil and gas. He contributed in developing India's first oil and gas field at Bombay High since its inception. DNV. He was head of industry and offshore development with DNV for 2 decades. ICS. He is founder of first Indian conformity assessment and inspection body known as the International Certification Services Private Limited, which is a provider of total quality solution under single umbrella with wide spectrum of services. Achievements and award. Lifetime Achievement Award of NACE Corcon received several national and international awards. Now I request Dr. Katra sir to please virtually inaugurate the session.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Please join us for the recitation of the Gayatri Mantra. Introduction of our today keynote speaker, designation and organization, HOD, litigation in direct tax, her academic qualification, CA and Bachelor in Commerce, Her area of specialization and experience working at RC Jain Associates LLP, litigation under income tax at all levels, representation in Benam Act, Black Money Act. Please welcome Namrata ma'am. Over to you, ma'am. Hello.
Yeah, just a second now. So a very good morning to everyone and all. I just want to just check whether the screen shared is visible.
Yes,
Sir,
ma'am.
you can
Screen
just
share is visible. Just make it to full screen, ma'am.
yeah, sure, sir, sure. Yeah, sir. So a very good morning to everyone out here. So the topic here given, the presentation would be basically on how to respond to the outstanding which are being raised under the Income Tax Act, and what are the consequences if those demands are not addressed properly. All actions should be taken by the person in whose what all actions what all action against the outstanding demand which is reflected total. So basically, a layman, what happens? Let's take one example. Let's say for the last financial year 23-24, every type of assessee has filed their income tax return either on 31st of July in case of non-audit cases, or either in case when in audit cases it is 31st of October, and in of November, and so on. And the last filing the belated, that is late return or revised return for financial year 23, 31st of December 2024. That is nearly 3 days are just pending to file if you are revised return, or if you are wishing to file, you have forgotten to file your income tax return for financial year 23-24. So a very that please do that, because post that not be able to file the return under Income Tax Act. Yeah, we have an provision of filing up 139(8)(a), but that penalties and additional taxes. So to avoid all those things in nutshell, it is your income tax return if not filed for financial year 23-24 last of December 2024. Secondly, moving ahead, first happens, let's say I'll give you an let's say for example, there is a company named X Private Limited, which is in the business of trading in goods and services. Now, what happened, like in for financial year 21-22, due to some of the reasons, there was demand which was standing on the. Now, the assessee, that is assessee Private Limited, is referred as assessee over here. Assessee filed its return of income. The return gets processed, and you get an 143(1) of the Income Tax Act, stating whether whatever return of income is filed is verified, and if you have any additional liabilities, through the intimation order, you come to know if there is some additional liability which is liable to be paid or not. XYZ Private Limited filed its return of income, and within, let's say for example, within next 3 months, the return was duly processed, and there was an intimation under 143(1) which was received the XYZ Private Limited on its registered email at the time of filing return and at the time of filing registering on the income tax portal. Now, XYZ Private Limited was not about any of such demand which has risen out. That person, he was not he was not aware about what is going on. He just informed his relevant chartered accountant or any of the third person to file his return of income, and of income, he was very much done. I do not have to do anything. You should always check after filing return of income, after your return is processed, whether there is any demand, whether there is an income tax demand which has been and what all actions are to be taken against the demand. Now, firstly, let's say for example, in that when the return is processed, intimation and in case of XYZ, which was raised of rupees, let's say 1,000. Now, after analyzing under 143(1), the reason for scrutinizing it, the reason for demand raised was that there was a TDS credit, which was there is a TDS credit when you file your income tax return reflecting in your form 26AS. Now, yes, at the time of filing return of income, there was reflecting of, let's say, for example, 5,50,000. But when my return was processed, authority, that is CPC authorities, that is Centralized Processing Center, in spite the credit, they availed me the credit only of 1,000. Now, because of giving me a shorter credit of 1 lakh, there was a demand which was raised on my income tax portal, and I had some amount to be, extra amount was liable to be paid. Now, I was not aware about any such thing that has been raised. So what happened is I just ignored it because I was not aware about anything. Neither my chartered accountant informed nor I kept ignoring it. So basically, what are the steps to be taken if in these demands are getting coupled up, where you should has been raised, what all are the documents, what all are the steps which are to be taken to rectify the demand. So moving to our next slide. So moving to our basically the next slide, how to respond to outstanding demand, which is reflecting on income tax portal. So it is a very simple process. Just you will be having your income, ask the person who is filing your income tax, furnish your income tax login ID password. Be your PAN number, your password, just enter the login ID password. There is one tab known as click on pending actions tab. If you could just refer to the second point on the slide, click on pending actions tab, and there is one drop down known as response to outstanding demand. If you click on response to outstanding demand, if in any outstanding demand which is for the income tax return filed over the year, like would be located over there. Like what are, let's say for example, on left hand side there would be assessment year, demand amount, interest amount. Then there would be like demand is raised under which section. Continuing the example, XYZ Private Limited, XYZ Private Limited's demand was raised on account of difference in TDS credit, and this demand was raised under section 1, that is intimation. At the time of processing of demand was raised. So when you go on to that tab in income tax portal and you select response to outstanding demand, you would be saying assessment year 22-23, a section under which demand is raised, that is 1. Demand amount would be XYZ, what would intimation, and accordingly you would be having there two options to select, that is pay now or submit response. Pay now, that means you agree that yeah, this was a mistake and there was an erroneous mistake which was made, and now after scrutinizing everything, after looking onto the intimation, that is intimation in legal process, a document which tells that after processing of return, what is the outcome which is taken by the CPC, that is CPC is nothing but Centralized Processing Center. So if you feel that no, this is a mistake which is made from our end, and what the processing after return, what has been captured as amount which is payable is correct, just click on pay now, make the payment additional tax liabilities and submit response over there stating that the demand is paid. What happens at times, you feel that this is a technical glitch or this is wrong or the presentation made return is correct, and at the time technical glitches, the centralized processing center, which is the authority for processing the return, erroneous mistake by let's say for amount which has been taken twice at the time of processing due to some technical glitches. So after scrutinizing, you this demand which is raised is completely wrong. Option over there, within 15 days of demand is raised, you need to enter the reason for demand, whether you agree or disagree. So just click on submit response. You will disagree with demand or agree with demand. If you feel that this is a wrong thing which has been made, agree with demand over there. After clicking on disagree with demand, mention the reasons why do you feel that this demand raised is wrong. And after doing the submission, please make sure that you are taking print screens of the same. Several times due to technical glitches, this XYZ Private Limited, although might have submitted all these responses on the income tax portal thoroughly, then too there would be a possibility that same demand might couple up again, no- and that has very much. Whenever you make any submission, crucial that you take print screens of the same, you take snapshots of the same, and you always have a proof. What else you can do is the second step else you can do is referring to the third point. Firstly, check the reason now let's continue the example of XY. Intimation was processed, was raised on account of mismatch in TDS credit, and I actually got to know that this demand is correct, and I made the payment and I even submitted the response that this demand is correct. What happened is, my return after getting processed, my return was selected for scrutiny proceedings. Now, scrutiny proceedings, basically the department would be having some information that from my AIS, there is one document which is known as AIS and TIS. AIS, from that department comes to know that immovable property during the year, but unfortunately that immovable property was never declared. That is, sale proceeds from that selling that property, immovable property, but never declared in my income tax return. Department selects my case for the scrutiny purposes under 143(2) of the Income Tax Act, and then it tells me, please ask. In 143, there are basic details which are asked by the, and then we have several notices post that is are asked, please tell us, please furnish us these documents, like you sold the property, please furnish us copy of agreement, when did you receive that amount, what was the quantum of amount, like have you invested this in the residential property or any sort of. Also send us a show cause notice stating that if this property is sold by you, why have you failed to pay tax on the sale of immovable property while furnishing your return of income for the relevant assessment year? So what happens is, at this point of time, the things get the things were like, now my case is selected for scrutiny and the demand has risen up. So what happens? Finally, I agree that this sale of only reflected in my AIS in this year, but actually the sales proceeds pertain to my next financial year. There was some advance amount which was received here, hence my AIS captured this in the financial year 23-24, but actually the entire sales year 24-25. There could be several reasons. The
Hello.
example stating that at times
Hello.
this could also. Yeah.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. There is some network issue. Your voice is breaking, ma'am. Continuously.
Uh, just a second, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, yeah, is it visible? Is it audible right now?
Yeah, yeah, ma'am. Now it's audible, ma'am.
Yeah.
Because,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, thank you, ma'am.
So continuing that example, reasons like that the sale of property actually pertains to financial year 24-25, but in AIS, since because the advance was received partly in 24, the AIS captured the entire amount of registered property 23-24, and the sale actually happened in financial year 24-25. So the XYZ Private Limited was aggrieved by this and has told that this sale does not pertain to this financial year. So now what remedies do you demand which has risen up because of selection of your case in scrutiny on the basis of information available to the department? What are the remedies which you can do? You can firstly file. Let me see in the next slides what are the process an appeal should be filed, what are the relevant authorities to whom the appeal should be filed. So what happens now? Point this slide basically talks about like how you are supposed to take steps to respond to your outstanding demand. Then again, if you disagree with the demand, select the same. There would be drop downs like there would be several drop downs like whether a stay petition filed, appeal filed, is appeal is filed installed by you, or you have filed a rectification or anything. So in the response to outstanding demand and the pending actions tab, please make sure that you make the compliances and you actually responses. After submitting the reply to our, it's very crucial that you take screenshot of the reply substance, since at times, as I mentioned earlier as well, that you on a due to glitches on the income tax response submitted by you is actually not visible. It is very much advisable that all those actions are taken care by us. And firstly, let's say for example, in the first example which I told that private limited in demand was raised under intimation under one, and demand was accepted, and XYZ Private Limited agreed to pay that demand, even paid that demand, even submitted that response under by, but unfortunately that demand is tax portal. So it is not that just by submitting the response you are free, but you should always take care that some demand is actually still not reflecting on your income tax portal, because this actually happens despite the payments are made, despite the response are submitted. Many a times the income tax portal, the same demands are always reflected. Uh, Technical glitch, extremely sorry. So moving on to the next slide. So what are the consequences if you do not reply to this demand? Few refunds would be adjusted, at whatever are the future refunds that would be getting adjusted. Then you would be having there could be a possibility that there would be recovery proceedings which would be initiated against you, stating that why this demand has not been paid by you. Does there would be attachment there could be attachment of your bank accounts, even if the demand is more, and sale of immovable properties as well. From You can get a call from income tax department asking you that despite there is outstanding demand since several times, why haven't you paid that demand? You could be liable for various penal provisions of interest and penalties, that is initiation of interest under section 220, which is demand is there which is rising up, the interest under 220 gets added at the rate of 1% until and unless you pay the demand until and unless you, there could be prosecutions and penalty proceedings. Let's say, for example, if you have not filed your return of income and there is a huge credit bank of account, and government comes huge credits and still this person has not filed your return, he gives you continuous scrutiny notices, email ID as well, and you that is not even you are receiving those notices at your registered address, whatever is there, but responding to it, then there could be prosecution proceedings in the extreme scenarios which might be initiated against you. So these all are the very important factors, like why a person should be very crucial to respond to the outstanding demands. Important point which I would like to bring to your highlight is that there is one provision, there's the provision in the Income Tax Act of Section 230, that is tax clearance certificate, and is actually there since ages in the income tax portal. But as per the current budget 2024 and as per the CBDT dated 5th of Feb 2024, limit which has been inserted by the government authorities, that income tax clearance certificate would be mandatory for Indian citizens regardless for the purpose of travel. That if you wish to travel abroad, let's say for example it is business, tourism, education, in case of any person who is domiciled in India, and if he has direct tax arrears exceeding 10 lakhs outstanding against him, which has not been stayed, then you need to get an income tax clearance certificate. Getting those certificates in the relevant forms, in the relevant applications, you would not be allowed to travel abroad. So if you see far, if you even wish to travel abroad and you have huge demands which are there on your income tax portal, wish to travel for a purpose, but you are least bothered about the income tax portal's demand, not responding at all, very lethargic, and very much your approach towards the income tax is not at all supportive. So has made it crucial that it would be mandatory for person to get a clearance certificate for the purpose of travel, in case he is residing in case of a person who is domiciled in India and his total outstanding direct tax arrears is exceeding 10 lakhs. Now please make limit of 10 lakh is not per year, it is aggregate of all the years. So please do not have direct tax arrears limit is, it is an aggregate direct tax arrears, and if unfortunately you have not taken any actions, even been raised is incorrect, but no action, you have not filed any appeals, you have not filed any, would have to do it at a donation of delay, get it done, get a stay order from the authorities, and then you can proceed to travel abroad. So it is not that just by avoiding all those things, by taking all these things very lightly, it can go smooth. So better please be important provision which has been again and again brought into the light by the income tax departments as well. Now actions. what are the actions which you can take against the outstanding demand? Firstly, you verify whether the demand raised by income tax authority is correct or not. As I told that if you want to like why the demand has been raised, the demand raised is raised under which section, then you can go to the e-proceedings tab, as I mentioned in my earlier slide as well, that you can go to the e-proceedings tab, select your relevant assessment here for which demand has been raised. Entire documents and know the reasons why demand is raised. If you agree with the demand raised, make the payment, pay the said demand in Challan 280 at the heading 400. That is the heading regular assessment for the relevant assessment year. Please make sure that the payment of demand, the Challan number and the heading numbers are also appropriately selected. Secondly, if you disagree with the demand, there are various remedies and alternate options which are available if you disagree with demand. Like depending upon the sections under which demand has been raised, your actions would be taken. You can file a rectification request with CPC, that is Centralized Processing Center, as I mentioned earlier, the first authority post filing your return of income, which processes your income tax return under 143(1). The same request under section 154. Now there are timelines which are attached for filing all those applications. Uh, entire this session, I'll move on to the first slide of my PPT, wherein what are the timelines which are attached. Post to those timelines as well. Second option what you have is you can file a rectification request with your jurisdiction. Again, if your demand is 47, 154. Now 147 is nothing but reassessment. 143 is regular assessment. 154 is nothing but in addition. If your rectification file CPC or your jurisdictional assessing officer is rejected, then you can file an appeal. The first authority file an appeal is Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals. Now, the time limit attached over here is whenever you have received an order, you have to file an Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals, which is known as for appellate authority. First appellate authority, that means authority against whom your first appeal at the first level should be going to the concerned person for income tax appeals. Now, there's a deadline and be filed within 30 days along with the application for condonation of delay, sufficient cause for delay. If you are filed days, then you can file it with a condonation of delay, substantiate that why this delay has been caused. Time for filing the appeal is 30 days from the date of order. Now, unfortunately, informed by the first appellate authority, and you are pretty sure that no, I have a winning case, and I will fight last levels as well. So the second authority which comes into the pictures is nothing but tribunal. Now the time limit attached 60 days from the date of receipt of the first appellate authority's order, that is Commissioner of Income Tax. And also we have an option that we can file the appeal after 60 days. Same condition applies, that if your condonation of delay, you have with condonation of delay, provided your condonation of delay substantiates that there was a sufficient cause with you, that you were unable, you were prevented from filing the appeal within the time bound manner with the department. So basically it is that there are these all timelines are very crucial. Very much advisable that you keep on be up with what is going on tax returns after processing, because once you, and if you're not taking actions in the time bound, results could be very hazardous. So it is very, you always have an eye whatever happened. So, and don't to be in your favor, you as well within 120 days income tax appellate tribunal. These are basic to whom you can file with whom you can furnish your appeals as well.
Yes, I will. Okay, sir.
Request everyone to please be there. There is some network connectivity issue at Namrata ma'am's place, so she will rejoin within a minute.
So basically we were on this slide that we have different options for filing with the relevant authorities which are there with whom of income tax, and third was High Court. And secondly, if you are challenging the recovery of demand, whenever you file any important that you always apply for stay application to the relevant income tax authorities as well, because this will help you for adjustment of your refunds so that your refunds of the earlier like forthcoming years are not adjusted. And by filing stay application is nothing but you tell your relevant income tax authority which is concerned, stating that see, this demand has been raised which is incorrectly raised, and these are the reasons. So either you can be granted 100% stay on your demand, or you will firstly have to pay 20% of your demand for let's say for example in case of XYZ Private Limited, the demand raised under section 156 of the Income Tax Act was say for example 1 lakh rupees. So now that 1 lakh rupees at XYZ Private Limited is denying that this demand is wrong. So at the time of filing CIT appeal, that is the first level appeal, there is an option that the optional like you have to pay 20 demand initially, and you have to grant a stay authority for balance 80% of your demand. So now this granting stay for balance 80% of demand would help you for what? Now let's say for example XYZ Private Limited has a huge refund in early next coming years. So now if there is no stay demand or stay letter or stay demand, you do not have stay on your demand, then they would automatically from the income tax portal keep on adjusting your refund of the forthcoming years against that 80% of demand. Or else if you feel that you have financial crunch and the demand raised is completely incorrect, completely wrong in nature, then you can even urge to file uh, by filing with the relevant and I want you to grant an entire stay. Now, that is a very, very, very rare possibility that without paying even a penny amount, that is even paying 20% people, there could be a stay granted. Now, that happens only in rarest scenarios where there is high-pitched assessment. Now, what is high-pitched assessment is that, see, let's say, for example, your assessment, that is your addition to your income, is being made erroneously by technical glitches, that is 50 to 100 times of your income, which is actually wrong, which is not there at all. So in case of high pitched assessment, there could be a possibility that without paying a single amount, you get an entire 100% stay on your demand. So whenever you do file the appeals, please make sure that the stay application is also be filed. If demand is raised is correct and you are unable to pay demand due to financial constraints, you can even request for installment facility by providing sufficient reasons. Now, let's say, for example, the demand raised, you have not filed your return of income. Now, as I told you, for financial year 23-24, the last date for filing belated return and revised return is 31st of December 2024. Now, unfortunately, someone missed this demand, and because of non-filing of income tax return and having huge profits in their business, the demand was raised. Now that person comes to know that, yeah, this demand raised is correct. I actually missed the deadlines as well. Now income tax department has caught my missed to file your return, income tax return on 31st of December as well. So now you feel that the demand raised is entirely correct, but you have some financial constraints and are unable to make the payment in one shot. So by providing your sufficient reasons, you can even request for installment facility and you can pay your demands in installments as well. Then further filing of appeal for foremost against order raising demand is very much crucial so that you can take benefit of various dispute resolution schemes launched by income tax department like Vivad Se Vishwas 2024. Now, what is very much crucial again over here is, now any times, there are several times what happens, government keeps launching with several amendments, that it was VAT, that it was in earlier regime, the VAT had some amnesty scheme, GST also had some amnesty schemes, income tax several schemes, but several schemes had some features which are attached along with them. Like, now this firstly Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, then we move on to the deadlines. So what is Vivad Se Vishwas scheme? Now let's say, for example, there was a demand which has been raised, which was raised under the income tax portal, and you filed an appeal against that income tax demand, whatever was raised. You felt that no, this is a situation where partly the case might land up in my future. So I want to take a chance that this might come in my future. Like, so you were just taking a chance that by filing appeal that when I put forth my submissions, I might win, but you were not sure like about the outcome. It was a very debatable outcome, but you always thought that let's take a chance what could go ahead. You filed an appeal. Now, just because filing an appeal, now your appeal was pending. Let's say, for example, under this Vivad Se Vishwas scheme which has been launched, and the deadline for same by in the normal provisions is 31st of December 2024. That is more 3 days pending to that. So in that, there is a important punchline that your appeal should be pending with any of the authorities, as we discussed earlier. And first appellate authority, that is Commissioner of Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, High Court, or any of the authorities as on 22nd of July 2024. Now, why the date was 22nd of July 2024? Because this year there were two budgets which were announced, and this Vivad Se Vishwas scheme was launched in the second of budget, which was budget was dated, but budget was there on 22nd of July 2024. This was the reason that they launched that any appeals pending as on 22nd of July 2024 can opt this scheme. Now, what is basically this scheme talks about? Now that in my case, where I would just wanted to take a chance that by filing appeal, let's say, for example, after making submissions, if I could get something in my favor. Now government came up with this scheme. Now I thought, let's not wait by taking chances. Now I'll go for this scheme. I'll make my payment of purely tax amount, because in this scheme, whatever is your tax amount, just pay 100% of your tax amount and get rid of all interest and penalties. And if there is a penalty demand, you just pay 25% of your penalty, or if there is an interest demand, pay 25% of your interest and penalty demand and get rid of all other consequences which are associated with that. Now, this scheme is actually, I have told in a very nutshell, because this scheme is in itself a very huge scheme. But I just want to make sure that if you guys are having any of the outstanding demands, and if you have filed appeal and your appeals are pending as on 22nd of July 2024, please check. You still have an opportunity to file your applications under Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. Now, applications can even be filed after 31st of December 2024, but till the relevant date as will be notified by the government. Like, what the last date for filing application in this under this scheme is still not notified by the government yet. So, but there comes the consequences that now let's say, for example, in case of normal demand, if you file an application till 31st of December 2024, you normally have to pay only 100% of your demand. Your interest, your penalty, everything gets waived off. But if you file it post 31st December 2024, you have to pay 110% of your demand. So there is basically a 10% liability and additional liability which is getting increased if you file your application post 31st of December 2024. So basically, these are all the things wherein you should be taking care about, that what are the consequences which happens when you are not responding to an outstanding demand. Now, if a person he wants to, or he wishes to opt for this scheme, but just because this person has not filed his appeal, and which is order of which is very old, eligible to take the benefit of this scheme. Now, this scheme in itself has various benefits as well. So you want to just get rid of all the demands, want to buy a peace of mind, you can just opt this scheme, get rid of all the penalties and interest which are levied upon you. So it is very much crucial that you are getting always updated about what is there on your income tax portal, what is there, what is happening post you are filing your income tax return as well. Win an appeal, let's say for example, XYZ Private Limited for one of the year has won his appeal, and every demand which is there, which was raised by the income tax authorities wrongly, is now deleted. Now you just have to take a documentary evidence for that. You just have to make an application for order giving. You just have to make an application for order giving in effect to the income tax authorities, stating that please delete our demand, and if issue a refund, if there is any refund which is arising on that account of transaction, or if your future refunds are adjusted because of that outstanding demand which was lying, your some of the future refunds are adjusted, you can just get that order giving effect order. You can refund if any which is there in your case, and along with interest you will get that refund amount. And then submit your again and again I'll repeat this point, that please make sure that there is another response to outstanding demand. This order giving effect is giving effect, and the case has been landed up in our favor. So this will help you to avoid the future adjustment of refunds. If again the demand, despite of doing responding, if the demand is not deleted, you again have an option to file grievance on the income tax portal along with documentary evidences. You can also file a letter to your jurisdiction assessing officer. Whosoever is your jurisdiction assessing officer, you can get that details from the income tax portal. The moment you log into the income tax portal, on the left hand side, there's a tab known as Know Your Jurisdiction. So that jurisdiction is basically allotted on the basis of your address, which is there in your PAN card. So you can drop a letter to him stating that, see, we have all these documents, the demand is still not deleted. Please help us delete this demand. So they would process your application and the demand then gets deleted. Now, despite taking all courses of actions, this actually happens in practical life, that because we always do these all things in practical life. So then to the demand is not deleted, you again have an option for filing your grievance at CP Gram portal, that is nothing but centralized public grievance redress and monitoring system. I've just attached a hyperlink for that. You can just go there. You can just file your CP Gram stating the entire details. What was your case? Why the demand is not deleted? And if you have told your jurisdictional assessing officer, but he is not responding or he is not taking any actions against that demand, you can again go and file your application along with your PAN number, explaining the entire case on this portal. And then these persons, they address your jurisdiction assessing officers to take care and for speedy disposal of your case. Now, from here, what is there, like, what are the options? Like, when you file your appeal to the first level of authorities, that is Form 35, which is known as filing of appeal before Commissioner of Income Tax happens in Form 35. I've just mentioned this for your reference that which all types of orders can be filed against, like if these are the orders, the list of orders, these orders can be filed, these are the orders against which appeal can be filed before the Commissioner of Income Tax Act. Now, this is just for informative purpose that in case order passed against taxpayer, in case the taxpayer denies the liability, or you have an intimation under 143(1) or 1B, intimation under 200A, that is nothing but TDS statements. If you have any case which are assessment income tax, have assessment order under, that is best judgment. You did not respond to any notices, and because of non-response to your any notices, the order was passed. So again, you have a remedy to file your appeal to the Commissioner of Income Tax Act. Again, there was an order of reassessment, as I told earlier. Reassessment happens order seizure actions if something was made, if some assessments or additions were made in your case, or order under section 92 CD. Now, these are basically the list of orders just for your reference. Whenever you wish to file appeal, please make sure that you have you are filing it to the correct level of authority and you're not filing it to the different level of authority. This is just for that informative purpose. And we just move on to this slide, like what is a deadline which is attached for filing appeal to the income tax authorities, that is CIT appeals, that is first appellate authorities. You have to file appeal 30 days. 30 days start from when? 30 days start from the date of service of notice of demand, and in any other case, the date on which intimation of order sought to be appealed against is served. That means 143(1). Let's say, for an example, that 143(1)'s order was served to your income tax registered income tax email ID on the intimation was dated 21st of Jan 2025, and that was actually served to you on your registered email ID. Let's say, for example, on 28th of Jan 2025, then your appeals timeline of 30 days start from 28th of January 2025 and not 21st of January 2025. Similarly, what is important is date of receipt of order. When you receive it through a relevant mode of communication, that is either your registered email ID or you received it at your registered address, residential address or office address, whatever is there. Serving the date when you receive that order, from that day, the 30 days are to be that is started record. You have to start from there. While making an application to CIT appeals, if your assessed income, that is total income which is computed by your assessing officers, then you have to make this payment of fees for filing appeals. If your assessed income is less than or equal to 1 lakh, you have to make payment of 250 rupees. That payment has to be made on the income tax portal in the challan code 500 other receipts. For filing appeal, it is mandatory to furnish this challan of 250, 500,000 or 250, like whatever is your relevant case. You just have to make the payment of these fees for which is mandatory for filing appeals before Commissioner of Income Tax Act. Again, these are the list of orders again which are against which you can file an appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, that is ITAT, which is nothing but the second level authority post in Commissioner of Income Tax Act. which is the next authority against whom you can file your appeal, with whom you can file your appeal is ITAT. This is again a list of orders which are appealable against the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Similarly, appeal against ITAT has to be filed within 60 days from the date on which order sought to be appealed against is communicated. Same logic as was there earlier, communicated or served. In the entire Income Tax Act, whenever you file any appeals against any of the orders, your time limit for filing appeal, that is 30, 60, or 120 days, starts from the date when you have actually received that order in your through your registered email ID or your registered address. That mode of communication is very much important. If you have just received it on income tax portal, that does not mean that you have actually received your order. What is important is that your order should be received on your registered email ID and your registered address as well. So if you have just purely received your orders on your income tax portal and have never received your orders on registered email IDs and registered address, that again becomes a very crucial point for challenging that the mode of service of communication was never properly served. And you can even challenge your orders on basis of these points as well. So please do not ignore your registered email IDs. At times people have a habit of just putting the registered email IDs of their chartered accountant or tax persons, like tax practitioners who are doing that. Please always be in loop like what is happening, because at times, because of all these communications go on to your registered email ID, you are actually not aware about what is actually happening, like what are the next steps which are happening. It is that complete reliance has been placed by you on your chartered accountant. Please, there is an option for secondary email ID as well. If you want to wish that, know that email, I want to get updated or be posted about the communications, at least make sure that you are entering your details on in secondary email ID. That secondary email ID pertains to you as well. And whatever documents you're receiving, just make sure that whatever address is there in your PAN card is actually the correct address and you're actually residing at that place, because all the physical communications will be received on the address which is available in the PAN card. So please make sure of all these points to avoid any future litigations and consequences. Again, the fees for filing ITAT appeal, again, your assessed income is nothing but income which is computed after making additions by the assessing officer. Is if it is up to 1 lakh, the fees amounts to 500, and if it is more than 1 lakh, but up to 2 lakhs, it is 1500, and if it is more than 2 lakh, it is 1% of your assessed income. But there's a cap limit at more than 10,000, you cannot have your appeal filings. So the maximum cap for ITAT filing fees, which is for the government fees, is 10,000 rupees. Again, same thing applies that if you wish to file your appeal to the High Court, again, same, file it within 120 days from the date of order, from the date on which order appeal against is received by the assessee or principal chief commissioner or commissioner. Why have they mentioned about principal chief commissioner? Because it is not that appeal can only be filed by assessee, that is we. Appeals can also be filed by the departmental authorities as well. So if your department wishes to file, if you get a order in your favor, and you should not be relaxed, there could be chances that department might file an appeal against that order. So when department files appeal against any order, they also have the same deadlines as you have the deadlines, like for filing the appeals. So basically, firstly, we move on to the, as I narrated that we move on to the first slide, wherein I would just like to brief you what are the deadlines which are to be taken care. Now, or just for the purposes, I have just mentioned that, let's say, for example, financial year 22-23, assessment year 23-24, like intimation, the deadline is the last date becomes this. Then we have notice under 143(2), that is nothing but scrutiny notice. If you wish to know whether your case is selected for normal scrutiny or not, the deadline for knowing that is 3 months from the end of the financial year in which return is filed. So let's say, for example, now these all, please note, these all deadlines are purely as on the data which is as on the amendments which are available as on this date. Income tax department comes up regularly with some circulars and notifications. So these all dates might change, but this I have just made it for an example purpose. Let's say, for example, the year concerned is financial year 22-23. The assessment year is 23-24. And now I wish to know whether my return is selected for scrutiny or not. The last date for that is 30th of June 2024. And order under section 143 has to be passed within by 31st of March 2025. And rectification under section 154 has to be passed within 4 years from the end of financial year in which orders sought to be amended is passed. That is, if your intimation is dated 31st of December 2024, then rectification can be filed. Like the last date for last financial year is this financial year, 31st December 2024, that is financial year 24-25. So financial year 24-25, that is 4 years from the end of financial year in which this order is passed. So 4 years from March 25 comes to March 29. Again, as we repeated that CIT appeal 30 days from the date of service of notice, ITAT 60 days, High Court 120 days from date of service. So these are basically the deadlines, common deadlines which are there for filing the necessary appeals. Again, I urge that since we are on today on 28th of December, if you have not filed your income tax returns, please do it. Or if you wish to file your revised income tax returns or belated income tax returns, please do it. The last date is 31st of December 2024. Just log into your income tax portals. If you wish to take the avail the benefits of Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, again that deadline is 31st of December 2024. So basically, in nutshell, it was that how important it is for you guys to have a track on your income tax demands which are there on your income tax portals. So better make sure that you are responding to it in a timely manner, accurately as well, to avoid the consequences, and what are the remedies which are available to you to respond to those outstanding demands. So I humbly thank you for listening to this seminar and attending the seminar, for everyone's presence and having patience towards this. And I'm extremely sorry for the technical glitches which were caused in between. I apologize for the same. And I'm happy if someone would have any questions to answer the same.
So thank you, ma'am, for the presentation and explaining topic in simplifying way. So now I request all the participants and delegates, if you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask directly, or you can put your questions in the chat box. Ma'am, there is a question from Sundar sir. So please welcome Sundar sir.
Very good afternoon, Ms. Namrata ji.
A very good afternoon, sir.
Very nice presentation. You covered it, and it was there's a lot of requirement which I could hear from the IT. My question is very basic. Now, this Income Tax Act is 1961, and after
Correct,
that, a lot of amendments and a lot of circular keep on pouring from the RBI, from the government authorities, state authorities. Now, how to keep a track? Where we get all the information? What is the latest? What is up to date?
Yeah. So basically what happens if on the income tax portal, there is one tax laws and rules tab over there. So if you go there on the income tax portal, whatever are the monthly circulars and notifications which are launched by the income tax department, tax laws and rules, just click over there. Every monthly circulars and notifications which are launched, you get update over there. So basically logging on the income tax website, you can just have a track like what is the new things which have risen up. Even on the income tax portals, we have every things, like let's say for example, now you wish to know what are the steps on the income tax portal to file your income tax appeal. You are a layman person, you do not know and you wish to do it yourself. There are several manuals which are there on income tax portals. So going through that manuals, you can get an exact bird eye view about how are the steps which are to be taken, what is the next steps, how you are to proceed, under which heads you are supposed to make the payments, everything. And for making yourself updated, yeah, definitely these are the things that you have to browse to the income tax portals and every monthly, and there are several CA chartered accountants firms which have a monthly manuals which are published by them. So in that monthly manual, you come to know what is the latest circular or notifications which have been issued, so that you are updated with what is going on, what are the changes which are ongoing in the income tax things.
So this monthly, this is also available on soft copy. No? We can browse it.
Yeah, so now monthly happens what, if you are having any chartered accountants firm, you can just visit their websites, and by visiting to their websites, you can always have an option that you can browse everything over from there, and that circulars and notifications are available on the income tax portal.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Another question, of course, you discussed and you provided all the information related to corporate on organization. What about
Correct.
the personal? Because personal, where these people really they are confused, and when they are young, they don't know how to save, where to save, and in that
Okay.
somehow sometimes they put it in wrong shares or wrong assets, then they lose money.
Okay.
So, what is your advice on that?
So basically, investing advice is that whenever you want to invest in anything, it is very much crucial that you entirely analyze what type of investment, like what is your goal. Firstly, analyze after how long do you need that payment, like for how long you are ready to invest your funds. Then just take a financial advice to that, like what would be the tax implications if you wish to withdraw those funds after these many number of years. And investing in shares, definitely, yeah, you have to keep reading the financial analysis of that shares. You have to keep a track of last 3 to 4 years data, what is the forthcoming projects which that company is planning to do. So in all sum, what is important is that before making any financial, like investing in shares specifically, that you study the company's financials. It is very much crucial, and what the company is planning to do in near future. Are there any mergers or demergers which are expected in that company? What is the past history? How many times the company has declared dividend? What was the ratio of profits and losses the company has earned? So was company indulged in any of the SEBI's orders that in price rigging or any such thing? If it is a penny stock, it is very much crucial that penny stocks are clearly like verified to a very depth analysis, that if these stocks indulged in any of the SEBI's penalties, let's say for example price rigging, insider trading or not, who are the CFOs and CEOs who are running behind those companies. So investing in all is a process which has to be looked into entire all angles. It is not just because the company is earning profits you are supposed to invest in that. Just have a look about who are the promoters of the company, what is the promoter's stake in that company, and what are the options which are, like what are the industries which are the company is into. So that is a consideration before investing in shares basically.
Thank you. Thank you, Namrata ji. Now, another thing,
Yeah.
this shares market and all this thing. Now, if you buy
Hmm.
debentures, will it also save your taxation? Do you have any tax benefit to
So
buy debentures?
buying
It
of
is a
shares
long-term
and
investment.
debentures, so buying of shares and debentures won't help you to save your taxes, because whenever you sell them, there is definitely a capital gain, either short term or long term, which is getting arised, and that benefit, whatever gains you're earning, cannot be offset against any of, let's say for example, now I want to sell a property, I have an option that I invest in any other residential property, but by selling shares, you tell me if I sell shares, buy debentures, no, that is not a tax saving, that tax planning cannot be done. Investment in debentures is not that will help you to save your taxes. It is just an investment which you are making for your own purpose to earn profits.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Unless everybody has,
Thank you, sir.
I think Mr. Naim has put the question on chat box.
Yes, there is a question from Mr. Naim Zakire, which website we are able to choose for personal outstanding demand.
Can check you are supposed to check your personal outstanding demand again on the income tax portal itself, just by logging into that income tax portal. As I narrated in the presentation, that click onto the pending actions tab. Just log in, that is www.incometax.gov.india. Just log in over there, log in to income tax portal, enter your PAN, enter your password which is there for filing income tax returns. There you have an option, go to the pending actions tab. In that pending actions tab, there are several drop downs. There is one drop down which is known as response to outstanding demand tab. Just click onto that response to outstanding demand tab, and you will be knowing whatever income tax demands are lying against your PAN. And I have even mentioned in my slide on page 3 or 4 of the presentation, like wherein that you can see that which tab you are supposed to enter and what drop down you are supposed to select. I hope the question is answered. If you still have any queries, please ask.
Thank you, ma'am. So I request participants, if you have any question or doubt, you can unmute yourself and ask directly to the ma'am, or you can put your questions in the chat box. So I think there is no more question, ma'am. So can we move ahead?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes. So our next session is on 4th January 2023. Our topic for on 4th January will be financial planning for startups. It shall be taken by Ms. Nirmala Soni. She shall cover financial planning for startups, modes for raising funds for startups, important ratios for analysis, followed by question and answer session. ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system, that is QMS, EMS, and OSHAs, excellence in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, and Hindi. For reading any of the above books, please contact Ms. Sushma Kindalkar on the given contact details. Feedback form, please register on www.sadgunsung.org and go in your login and give your valued feedback to us. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you all the participants and delegates for being the part of today's Sadgun Sun. So now it's officially closed the session. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.